She said at dinner, "He's okay, but I could have done better." To my face, in front of her parents. I said, "You're right," stood up and did better. That night, with someone who appreciated me. All right, Reddit, this happened 6 months ago, and my buddy Jake still brings it up at every hangout like it's the greatest thing he's ever witnessed. Said I should share it here, because apparently it's legendary enough for the internet. So here goes. I'm 29, work as a logistics coordinator for a shipping company in North Carolina. Not the most glamorous job, but it pays well, and I'm good at it. Basically, I make sure products get from point A to point B without drama, which requires juggling schedules, suppliers, and enough spreadsheets to make your eyes bleed. The kind of job where attention to detail matters more than looking cool. I've got my own place, a paid-off Tacoma that I actually maintain on schedule, and a decent life that doesn't involve living on instant ramen or begging my parents for rent money. Nothing fancy, just solid and stable. The kind of existence that apparently makes you boring, according to some people. Been with my girlfriend Brittany for about a year and a half at this point. Met her through a friend's cookout back in spring of 2023. She worked as a dental hygienist and had this whole bubbly personality thing going on that seemed genuine at first. Always laughing, always planning weekend trips to vineyards or festivals, always posting those aesthetic photos on Instagram that get a million likes. The first few months were great, honestly. She appreciated that I had my life together, that I could actually plan a date without defaulting to Netflix and whatever's in my fridge, that I remembered important stuff like her birthday and what kind of flowers she liked. We'd go hiking on weekends, try new restaurants, normal couple stuff that felt right. I'd take her to this farmer's market every Sunday morning where she loved getting fresh flowers and overpriced artisan bread. Made a whole thing out of it. We'd walk around, grab coffee, plan out meals for the week based on what produce looked good. She posted pictures of our Sunday routine constantly, tagged me in stories about how sweet I was for making time for her interests. Her friends loved me too, which should have been my first warning sign. They kept telling her how lucky she was to find a guy who wasn't a total disaster. Looking back, that's a pretty low bar to celebrate, but whatever. Her friend Ashley literally said at a group dinner, "Brittany, you finally found someone who isn't a complete train wreck. Don't mess this up." Everyone laughed like it was a joke, but the desperation in Ashley's voice suggested she'd witnessed some real disasters in Brittany's dating history. I met most of her exes through stories. There was the guy who got fired from 3 jobs in 1 year and blamed it on everyone but himself. The dude who lived with 4 roommates and spent his entire paycheck on concert tickets and sneakers. The personal trainer who was building his brand, which apparently meant posting gym selfies and never actually working. Each story made me feel better about being the stable choice, the adult in the room. Should have realized that being someone's first responsible boyfriend isn't actually a compliment. It's a warning sign that they don't know how to appreciate stability because they've never had it before. Things started shifting around the 6-month mark. Brittany began making these little comments about how predictable our relationship was, how she always knew what to expect from me, how I never did anything spontaneous or exciting. "You're just so planned out," she said one night while we were watching a movie. "Like everything has to be scheduled and organized. Can't we just be more spontaneous sometimes?" I pointed out that she literally asked me to plan our weekend trips 3 weeks in advance because she needed time to coordinate with work. Apparently that was different. The comments started small but got increasingly specific. Like when I suggested we make dinner reservations for her birthday 2 weeks in advance, she rolled her eyes and said, "Of course you're already planning it." When I asked what she meant, she backpedaled with, "Nothing, it's sweet," in that tone that meant it definitely wasn't sweet. Or the time I noticed her car needed an oil change and mentioned it before we went on a road trip. "You're always worried about maintenance and schedules," she said. "Can't we just go and see what happens?" "Yeah, Brittany. Let's just see what happens when your engine seizes on the highway because you haven't changed your oil in 8,000 miles. Super spontaneous. Then came the comparisons to her ex, some guy named Brett who worked as a personal trainer and apparently lived his life like every day was a Red Bull commercial. Skydiving, spontaneous road trips, posting shirtless gym selfies with inspirational quotes. Real deep stuff. "Brett would have just surprised me with tickets to Miami," she said, after I asked her which weekend worked better for a beach trip. "He didn't need 2 weeks' notice to be exciting." Cool story, Brittany. Brett also forgot your anniversary 3 years running and borrowed money he never paid back. But sure, let's celebrate his spontaneity. Brett, who, according to your own stories, once surprised you with a weekend trip he'd booked to the wrong state because he didn't double-check the booking. Brett, who bought you concert tickets for a band you'd never heard of because he assumed you'd love them without asking. But yeah, that kind of thoughtlessness wrapped in spontaneity is way better than someone actually considering your preferences. I started noticing a pattern in her complaints. Anything I did that showed planning or forethought got labeled as boring or controlling. Meanwhile, anything impulsive or last minute was automatically exciting and romantic. Like the time Brett showed up at her apartment unannounced at midnight, and she thought it was adorable. When I pointed out that's basically stalker behavior, she said I didn't understand romance. The comments got more frequent as we approached our 1-year mark. I started noticing she'd pull out her phone whenever I was talking about work, or explain some logistics problem I'd solved. She'd scroll through Instagram while nodding along like she was listening, but her eyes told a different story. Her friends started giving me these weird looks too when we'd all hang out together. Like they knew something I didn't and were waiting for the other shoe to drop. Makes sense now, obviously. Around month 14, Brittany started pushing for me to meet her parents. They lived about 2 hours away in this small town near the mountains, ran some kind of accounting firm together. She talked about them constantly, how smart they were, how successful, how they had high standards for who she dated. They're going to love you, she kept saying. My dad appreciates guys who have their act together. And my mom's super impressed that you have a real career and your own place. Red flag number 800. But I missed it completely. We scheduled dinner for a Saturday in October. She spent the entire week beforehand coaching me on what to talk about, what not to mention, how to impress them. It felt less like meeting the parents and more like prepping for a job interview I didn't apply for. Don't talk too much about work, she said. They'll think you're boring. But also don't act like you're not career-focused because they respect ambition. Just find a balance. Thanks for the clear guidance, babe. Friday night before the dinner, she calls me with this bright, fake cheerful voice that immediately sets off alarm bells. So I was thinking, maybe wear your navy blazer tomorrow? The one you wore to your cousin's wedding? It makes you look more put together. I owned exactly one blazer and it was gray, not navy. Told her as much. Oh, long pause. Well, maybe we could stop by the mall before dinner? Get you something that looks a bit more polished? It's 8 p.m. on a Friday, and she wants to go blazer shopping 12 hours before meeting her parents for the first time. This was going great already. Ended up borrowing a navy blazer from my buddy Connor, who's roughly my size. Thing fit okay, except the sleeves were a bit long, but Brittany acted like I'd just solved world hunger when I sent her a photo. Saturday morning, she texts me a literal itinerary for the day. Leave at 2 p.m., arrive at 3:30 p.m., dinner reservation at 6 p.m., leave by 8:30 p.m. to avoid traffic. Even I don't plan dates this precisely, and I literally coordinate shipping schedules for a living. The drive up there was tense. She kept giving me these weird pep talks about making a good impression, which made me feel like I was some kind of project she was presenting instead of her actual boyfriend. Just remember, my dad can be a bit intense. He's going to ask you about your career trajectory and financial planning. My mom's going to want to know about your family background. Just be confident, but not cocky. Brittany, I'm meeting your parents, not interviewing with the FBI. I know. I just really want this to go well. They've met some of my exes, and it didn't always go great. Yeah, I bet Brett the personal trainer really wowed them with his thoughts on cryptocurrency and protein powder. We pulled up to this nice house in a suburban neighborhood that screamed upper middle class and proud of it. Perfect lawn, perfect paint job, perfect everything. Her dad, Robert, answered the door in khakis and a polo shirt like he was about to teach a business seminar. You must be Kevin, he said, shaking my hand with that aggressive grip some guys use to prove something. Brittany's told us all about you. Her mom, Patricia, appeared behind him with this smile that looked like it hurt to maintain. Come in. We've been so excited to finally meet you. The house was exactly what I expected. Very clean, very organized, filled with family photos and matching frames and furniture that looked expensive, but uncomfortable. The kind of place where you're afraid to sit wrong and leave a wrinkle. We did the whole small talk thing in the living room, while they asked me surface-level questions about my job, where I'm from, how long I've lived in North Carolina. Basic interrogation disguised as polite conversation. Brittany sat next to me looking nervous, which made me nervous, which probably made them think I had something to hide. Robert asked about my 5-year plan, which is such a cliche question I almost laughed. Told him honestly, continue building my career in logistics, maybe move into management, keep saving money, maintain stability. Stability, he repeated, like I'd said something profound. That's good. That's smart. Too many young people today chase excitement instead of building something solid. Patricia nodded along. Brittany could use someone stable in her life. Someone who plans ahead instead of just flying by the seat of their pants. I caught Brittany shifting uncomfortably in her seat. Interesting. Dinner reservation was at this upscale Italian place downtown that definitely fell into the trying too hard category. You know the type. Dim lighting, waiters in vests, menu prices that don't include dollar signs, because apparently that's classier. We ordered appetizers while Robert launched into stories about his accounting firm and all the important clients they'd landed over the years. Patricia kept interjecting with details about their vacation home and the charity board she served on. Brittany barely said anything, just pushed bread around her plate and checked her phone under the table. I'm doing my best to engage, ask questions, show interest. The conversation was fine if you consider dental surgery fine. Robert kept steering things back to questions about my career. Where did I see myself in 10 years? What was my strategy for advancement? Did I have any investments? Kevin's very practical, Brittany finally said, jumping into the conversation. He's not really the type to take big risks or chase dreams. He likes things steady and predictable. The way she said it wasn't exactly a compliment. Nothing wrong with that, Robert said. Better to be realistic than to be one of these dreamers who ends up broke and disappointed. Thanks for the vote of confidence, future potential father-in-law. Our entrees arrived and the conversation shifted to Brittany's childhood. Stories about school and family vacations that I'd heard before. I'm eating my pasta and nodding along, playing the role of interested boyfriend who's totally not already planning the drive home in his head. That's when Patricia asked the question that started everything. So Kevin, what made you want to date our daughter? What was it that attracted you to Brittany? Normal question, right? Standard parent stuff. I gave a normal answer about how we met, how she was fun and energetic, how we enjoyed spending time together. Safe, honest, appropriate for a dinner table. Robert nodded along. And Brittany, what about Kevin? What made you choose him? I should have known something was coming from the way she paused. That half second too long where she looked at her wine glass instead of at me. That little micro expression that screamed, I'm about to say something I'll regret. Well, she started, still not making eye contact. He's stable. He's responsible. He has his life together. Pause. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. He's okay. The table went quiet. Even the waiter who was refilling water glasses nearby seemed to freeze mid-pour. Robert cleared his throat. Okay? Brittany looked at her parents, then at me, then back at her parents. And then she said it. The sentence that would end our relationship faster than Brett ended his gym membership. I mean, he's fine. He's a good guy. Very dependable and all that. But honestly, she laughed. This weird, nervous laugh that sounded rehearsed. I could have done better. The silence that followed was so thick you could have packaged it and shipped it using my logistics expertise. Patricia looked horrified. Robert looked confused. I looked at my girlfriend. Sorry, ex-girlfriend as of about 5 seconds ago. Like I was seeing her for the first time. Excuse me? Patricia said, voice sharp enough to cut glass. No, I don't mean it in a bad way. Brittany backtracked, realizing she'd just detonated a grenade at the dinner table. Kevin's great for what he is. He's just not exactly what I imagined ending up with, you know? He's safe, reliable, but there's no excitement, no passion. He's okay, but I always thought I'd be with someone more impressive. She said this, out loud, at a restaurant, in front of her parents, about me, while I was sitting right there. I put down my fork very carefully. The kind of careful you use when you're trying not to flip a table or say something you can't take back. Robert looked like he wanted to disappear into his chair. Patricia's face had gone from shocked to furious, and I realized the anger wasn't directed at me. Brittany Ann, Patricia said in that mom voice that probably still worked even though Brittany was 27. What on earth has gotten into you? I'm just being honest, Brittany said, doubling down on her catastrophic decision-making. Isn't that what you always taught me? To be honest about my feelings? There's being honest and there's being cruel, Robert said, looking at me with something almost like pity. Kevin, I apologize for my daughter's behavior. This is completely inappropriate. I held up my hand. No need to apologize on her behalf. Then I looked directly at Brittany, really looked at her. Saw the girl who'd spent 18 months pretending I was enough while apparently keeping score of all the ways I wasn't impressive enough for her personal highlight reel. You're absolutely right, I said. She blinked. What? You're right. You could have done better. And honestly, so could I. I stood up, pulled out my wallet, and dropped enough cash on the table to cover my portion of the meal, plus tip. Didn't want anyone claiming I'd stuck them with the bill. Robert, Patricia, it was nice meeting you. I'm sorry your daughter wasted your evening the same way she wasted the last year and a half of my life. Brittany's face went pale. Kevin, wait, I didn't mean... Yes, you did. You absolutely meant it. You've probably been thinking it for months based on all those comments about spontaneity and excitement. But here's the thing, Brittany. I'm not sorry for being stable. I'm not sorry for having my life together. I'm not sorry for being the kind of guy who shows up, follows through, and doesn't treat relationships like they're auditions for my personal Instagram feed. People at nearby tables were definitely staring now, but I was past caring. I hope you find whatever you're looking for. Someone impressive enough to meet your impossible standards. Someone spontaneous enough to keep you entertained. Someone who makes you feel like you're dating up instead of settling. I grabbed Connor's blazer from the back of my chair. Good luck with that. Based on this dinner, you're gonna need it. And then I walked out. Straight out of that restaurant. Straight to my Tacoma in the parking lot, and straight into one of the best decisions I ever made. The drive home should have been depressing. Should have been me spiraling about wasted time and hurt feelings, and all that typical breakup garbage. Instead, I felt light. Like I'd been carrying around this weight I didn't even realize was there until it was gone. About 20 minutes into the drive, it hit me how much mental energy I'd been spending trying to be spontaneous enough for Brittany, while also being responsible enough to actually function as an adult. Trying to balance her need for excitement with my need to not live like a college freshman who just discovered credit cards. The whole relationship had become this exhausting performance where I was constantly being graded on whether I was interesting enough while still maintaining the stability she claimed to value. Halfway home, my phone started blowing up. Brittany calling, texting, leaving voicemails that I deleted without listening to. Her mom called twice, which was weird, but I ignored those too. Even got a text from Robert that just said, "You handled that with more class than my daughter deserved. I'm sorry." Appreciated the sentiment, but I wasn't interested in playing family therapist for the drama Brittany had created. Got home around 9 p.m., changed out of the borrowed blazer into actual comfortable clothes, and did what any rational person would do after getting insulted at dinner by their girlfriend in front of her parents. I went to the gym. My gym's open 24 hours, mostly empty on Saturday nights except for the serious regulars and people working weird shifts. I needed to burn off the adrenaline and frustration in my system before I did something stupid like respond to Brittany's texts or write a novel-length message explaining exactly what I thought of her performance tonight. The gym was perfect. Just me, some guy doing deadlifts in the corner who was way too focused on his form to care about anyone else, and a girl on the rowing machine. The familiar rhythm of working out helped clear my head. No thinking, just movement and breathing, and the satisfying burn of actual physical effort instead of emotional labor. I was on the bench press, working through my third set, when I heard someone laugh nearby. Not a mean laugh, more like genuine amusement. Looked up and saw the girl from the rowing machine watching me with this expression that was half sympathy, half entertainment. She had dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, athletic build, the kind of confidence that comes from actually knowing what you're doing in a gym instead of posing for selfies between sets of bicep curls that don't actually challenge you. "Sorry," she said when she caught me looking. "Couldn't help but notice you've been attacking those weights like they personally insulted you. Rough night?" I sat up, wiped sweat off my face with my shirt. "You could say that. Break up? As of about 45 minutes ago, yeah." She nodded knowingly, pausing her rowing to look at me properly. The gym post-breakup. Classic move. I did the same thing when my ex cheated on me last year. Ran 8 miles at 2 a.m. like I was training for the Olympics. Did it help? Not really. But it was better than drunk texting him, which was my other option. She smiled, and it was genuine. Not the practiced Instagram smile that Brittany had perfected, but real amusement at the absurdity of heartbreak and bad decisions. I laughed despite everything. "I'm Kevin. Natalie." She got off the rowing machine and walked over, extending her hand for a shake. Her grip was firm, confident. "So what did she do? Because you've got that specific look that says it was bad. Maybe it was the adrenaline. Maybe it was the fact that she was a complete stranger, so it didn't matter. But I told her. The whole story. The dinner, the parents, the 'I could have done better' comment delivered like she was reviewing a mediocre restaurant. Natalie's eyes got wider with each detail. Hold on. She said that? Out loud? While you were sitting right there? In front of her horrified parents, yeah. And you just left? After telling her she was right and that I could have done better too? Yes. Natalie started laughing. Not a polite chuckle, a full genuine laugh that made other people in the gym look over. Oh my God, that's incredible. The look on her face must have been priceless. It was pretty satisfying, not gonna lie. You know what? She grabbed her water bottle and towel. You seem like you could use a distraction. There's a diner about 2 blocks from here that makes the best breakfast food you'll ever eat. Open all night, never crowded on weekends. Want to get pancakes and continue this story? Because I need to know how someone can be dumb enough to insult their boyfriend at a family dinner. I should have said no. Should have gone home, processed everything alone, done the whole responsible adult thing. But something about Natalie's directness and the fact that she found the whole situation as ridiculous as I did made me want to say yes. Pancakes sound great. The diner was exactly what she described. One of those classic 24-hour places with booths that had seen better decades, and a waitress who looked like she'd been working there since the Carter administration. We slid into a corner booth and ordered enough food to feed a small army. "So let me get this straight," Natalie said, after we'd gotten our food and I'd filled in more details. "This girl spent 18 months dating you, meeting you at cookouts, and dating someone stable for once, then decided the appropriate time to announce you weren't good enough was at a fancy dinner with her parents watching? That's the summary, yeah. What did she think was going to happen? You'd just sit there and take it? Probably, based on how shocked she looked when I agreed with her and left." Natalie shook her head. "I will never understand people who treat relationships like they're shopping for a better option. Like you're supposed to just wait around while they figure out if someone more impressive might swipe right? You sound like you've been there." "Oh yeah. My ex, the one who cheated, spent our entire relationship comparing me to other women. I was too focused on my career, not spontaneous enough, didn't party like I did in college. Then I found out he'd been seeing someone he met at a bar for 3 months. Because apparently she was fun and exciting, and I was too serious. What do you do? I'm a physical therapist. I work at a sports medicine clinic helping people recover from injuries and get back to doing what they love. Very serious stuff, apparently. Sounds impressive to me, right? But according to him, having a real job and not wanting to go clubbing every weekend made me boring. She stabbed her pancakes with more force than necessary. So I feel you on the whole being stable is apparently a character flaw thing. We ended up talking for 3 hours. About work, about past relationships, about our families and hobbies, and the weird stuff we'd witnessed at the gym over the years. She told me about her patience and the satisfaction of helping someone walk again after an injury. I told her about the logistics of shipping and how weirdly satisfying it was to solve complex routing problems. Normal conversation. The kind where both people actually listen instead of waiting for their turn to talk. Around 1 a.m., Natalie checked her phone and groaned. "I have to work in 7 hours, and I've had way too much coffee to sleep anytime soon. Sorry for keeping you out. Don't be. This was way more fun than going home and watching Netflix alone. Plus, your breakup story is legitimately the best terrible thing I've heard all year." We split the check, despite her insisting she could pay, walked out to the parking lot where our vehicles were parked near each other. She'd driven this Subaru Outback that had bike racks on top and outdoor gear visible in the back. "Hey," she said before getting in, "I know we just met and the timing is weird since you literally broke up with someone hours ago. But do you want to hang out sometime? Like actually hang out, not just trauma bond in a gym?" I thought about it for approximately 0 seconds. "Yeah, I'd like that." "Cool." She pulled out her phone. "Give me your number. Fair warning, I'm terrible at texting back quickly because I'm usually with patients, but I promise I'm not playing games." We exchanged numbers right there in the diner parking lot at 1 a.m. And somehow it felt more genuine than the entire year and a half I'd spent with Brittany trying to impress someone who was keeping score the whole time. The next morning, I woke up to 17 texts from Brittany, 6 missed calls, and a few messages from her friends I barely knew. All variations of, "We need to talk," and "You overreacted," and "Brittany didn't mean it like that." Deleted all of it. Blocked her number, blocked her friends. Clean slate. What I didn't block was the text from Natalie that came in around 11 a.m. "Hope you survived the post-drama morning. Coffee later this week if you're free? I promise not to tell you I could have done better mid-date. Met up with Natalie that Wednesday at this coffee shop she recommended. No pressure, no weird expectations, just 2 people getting to know each other. She asked about my job not in the "I'm judging your career trajectory" way, but in the "I'm genuinely curious how this works" way. Told me about her patience and the creative ways she had to motivate people through painful recovery processes. "I had this guy last month," she said, dunking her biscotti in her latte. "Former college athlete who'd blown out his knee, completely devastated, convinced he'd never play basketball again. Took 3 months of work, but he made a full recovery. Watching him dunk for the first time after surgery? Best feeling in the world." The way her whole face lit up talking about her job made me realize how different this felt from listening to Brittany complain about her dental hygienist patients. This was someone who actually cared about what she did, instead of just collecting a paycheck. We started hanging out regularly after that. Nothing official, just testing the waters and seeing if the chemistry from that first night was real or just breakup adrenaline. Turns out it was very real. Natalie was the kind of person who matched my energy instead of constantly trying to change it. When I mentioned I like to plan weekend trips ahead of time, she actually appreciated it instead of calling me boring. When she wanted to do something spontaneous, she'd suggest it, and we'd figure out if it worked, rather than making it a test of my flexibility. About 3 weeks after my disaster dinner, I got a message from Patricia, Brittany's mom. She'd somehow gotten my number, probably from Brittany's phone. The message was long, apologetic, and honestly more thoughtful than anything her daughter had ever sent me. She explained that Brittany had been struggling with some quarter-life crisis thing, comparing herself to friends who were dating doctors and engineers, feeling like she wasn't where she should be at 27. Apparently, the comment at dinner was the result of her trying to impress her parents by making it seem like she was choosing to date down, rather than admitting she was perfectly happy with someone normal. Robert and I were horrified, the message continued. We raised her better than that. The way you handled it showed more maturity and class than our daughter displayed in that entire evening. We wanted you to know that we thought you were wonderful, and Brittany's comments had nothing to do with who you actually are and everything to do with her own insecurities. I appreciated the message but didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? Thanks for raising someone who publicly humiliated me, but at least you felt bad about it? Brittany tried reaching out a few more times over the following weeks. First, it was apologies and excuses. Then it shifted to anger when I wouldn't respond. Classic, "you're being immature by ignoring me" messages. Then came the mutual friends trying to mediate, telling me I should at least hear her out. Hard pass on all of it. Meanwhile, Natalie and I were building something that actually felt healthy. She introduced me to her friends who were all normal people with real jobs and actual hobbies. I introduced her to my buddy Jake, who immediately texted me after meeting her. "Dude, she's awesome. Please don't mess this up." We'd been seeing each other for about a month when she brought up the obvious question over dinner at her place. "So," she said, while we were cleaning up after making stir-fry together, "are we doing this? Like, actually dating? Because I'm not really interested in the whole casual, undefined thing, and I'd rather know where we stand. Direct. Honest. Exactly what I needed." "Yeah," I said. "I'd like that, if you would." "Good. Because I really like you and I didn't want to waste time wondering if you were still hung up on the girl who insulted you in front of her parents. Trust me, I'm very not hung up on her." 2 months into officially dating Natalie, Brittany showed up at my apartment. Just appeared at my door on a Saturday afternoon, like she had any right to be there. I opened the door to find her standing there, in one of those outfits that's clearly designed to be effortlessly attractive, but actually took an hour to plan. Hair perfectly styled, makeup just right, holding a container of cookies she'd supposedly baked. "Kevin, hi, can we talk?" "No, please, I know I messed up. I know what I said at dinner was horrible. But I've been thinking about us and I miss you and I think we should try again." "Not interested. You're really going to throw away 18 months over one comment?" "I made a mistake. People make mistakes." That's when Natalie appeared behind me in the hallway, wearing my old college hoodie and carrying 2 bottles of Gatorade from my fridge. She looked at Brittany, looked at me, and I watched Brittany's face go through several stages of realization. "Oh," Brittany said. "You're already with someone." "This is Natalie," I said. "Natalie, this is Brittany. She was just leaving." Natalie gave her a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Nice to meet you. I've heard about the dinner thing." That was bold. Brittany's expression hardened. "Wow, that was fast. How long did you wait? A week? 2? "About 3 hours, actually," I said. "Met her at the gym the same night you told me I wasn't impressive enough. Turns out, when you stop dating someone who makes you feel inadequate, you're free to meet people who actually appreciate you." "This is ridiculous. You're dating the first person you met after we broke up? That's not a real relationship, Kevin. That's a rebound." Natalie stepped forward slightly. "Actually, it's been almost 3 months and it's been great. But thanks for your concern about our relationship status. Super helpful input." I couldn't help but smile at Natalie's calm delivery of that burn. Brittany looked between us, clearly trying to figure out if she should keep pushing or cut her losses. She went with option 3, dramatic exit with a parting shot. "You know what? Fine. You two deserve each other. Good luck with your boring, predictable life, Kevin. I'm sure she'll get tired of it eventually too." "Probably not," Natalie called after her as Brittany stalked toward her car. "I actually like people who have their lives together." Weird preference, I know. We watched Brittany drive off, then closed the door and burst out laughing. "So that was her," Natalie said. "The infamous, 'I could have done better' girl. That was her. Wow, you definitely upgraded." Over the next few months, I heard through the grapevine that Brittany had started dating some guy who owned a brewery and posted shirtless photos from CrossFit. Apparently, he was exciting and spontaneous, and everything she'd wanted. Good for her. Hope it works out better than her last attempt at finding someone impressive. Meanwhile, Natalie and I were doing our thing. She moved in around the 8-month mark, which felt natural instead of forced. Combined our furniture, split bills evenly, fell into a routine that worked for both of us. She had her career, I had mine. We supported each other instead of competing or keeping score. The best part? We could be boring together. Order takeout and watch movies on a Friday night without anyone complaining about lack of adventure. Meal prep on Sundays like the responsible adults we are. Plan vacations more than 2 days in advance. Revolutionary concepts. I know. About a year after the disaster dinner, I ran into Brittany's mom, Patricia, at the grocery store. She recognized me first, came over with that awkward smile people get when they don't know if they should acknowledge you or pretend they don't see you. Kevin, hi. How have you been? Good, thanks. You? We're doing well. Listen, I just wanted to say again how sorry I am about that dinner. Brittany's been in therapy working through some things, and she realizes now how badly she handled that whole situation. I appreciate you saying that. She's dating someone new now. He seems nice. Very different from you, but she seems happy. That's good. I'm glad she found what she was looking for. Patricia hesitated, then added, for what it's worth, Robert and I both agreed you were the best person she'd ever dated. We told her that many times after you left. Some people don't know what they have until it's gone. Well, it worked out. I'm with someone who actually appreciates what I bring to a relationship, instead of seeing it as settling. Her expression softened. I'm glad you found someone who deserves you. Really. We said our goodbyes and went our separate ways. No drama, no hard feelings, just two people who'd briefly overlapped in each other's lives and then moved on. That night, I told Natalie about running into Patricia. How'd that feel? She asked. Honestly, nothing. Like seeing someone from an old job you barely remember. Whatever I felt about that whole situation is just gone. Good, because dwelling on people who didn't appreciate you is a waste of time, when you could be hanging out with someone who thinks you're great. You think I'm great? Obviously. You remember my favorite coffee order? You actually listen when I talk about my patients. And you didn't make fun of me when I cried at the end of that dog movie last week. You're like the relationship jackpot for women who value actual substance over Instagram aesthetics. I did make a little fun of you for crying at the dog movie. Okay, but it was gentle fun. Affectionate mocking. I'll allow it. Fast forward to now, 6 months after that encounter in the grocery store. Natalie and I are solid, happy, building something real instead of performing for an invisible audience of judgmental observers. I think about that dinner sometimes. About the moment Brittany said those words and how my brain just switched from trying to save this to actively ending this. Best decision I ever made was standing up and walking out instead of trying to convince someone I was worth dating. Because here's the thing, Reddit. If someone tells you they could have done better, believe them. Not because you're not good enough, but because they're telling you they've already checked out and they're just looking for permission to leave. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.